good. Awesome. The purpose of the ELD portfolio is to help us make sure that all of our English language learners are meeting all of their English language development goals so that all of them can eventually be classified as fluent English proficient. It helps us to keep track, and it also helps to guide us in our instruction. And then it's also great for sharing with parents at conferences, letting them know kind of the pace that they should be moving through the levels. And also for our teachers next year that get those students, they can see what what that student has already mastered. Part one of the ELD portfolio I use for planning my integrated ELD time. It's really important to kind of guide me and how my students will be using language in whichever content area I'm teaching that lesson in. And then once I've kind of picked what ELD standard I'm going to use, then I start to think of what scaffolds I'm going to use. Am I going to have a graphic organizer or a sentence frame? And then also when I'm using part one, I think about how my students are going to show what they've learned. So are they going to be doing that with a partner, whole class, or maybe even in a collaborative group? All you have to do is look for the clues that the writer left you. And so we are going to do that today. I actually need your guys' help. Normally we have a teaching point, right, for Reader's Workshop? But today we're gonna do an inquiry lesson, which means that you and I are gonna work together to try to figure out what those clues are that the writer leaves for us so that we can really get to know the characters. Because we've been learning. So my integrated lesson was all about the students seeing what clues authors use so that we know how to read aloud. So they were looking for things like ellipses and punctuation. They were also looking for that dialogue, quotation marks, words like shouted and whispered so that they would know how to read it. And then for my English language learners, I really wanted them to be able to answer in a complete sentence and really kind of grasp the concept of the writer said whispered, so I know that I should whisper when I'm reading that aloud to someone. Or I noticed that the words were bolded, and so I know that when I read that, I should read them a little bit louder or with a little more emphasis. Or there was an exclamation mark at the end of that sentence, and so I need to make sure that I'm reading that with a lot of feeling. So you guys remember we've been talking about different parts of speech. So nouns name people, places, and things. Verbs are action words like running and jumping and sitting, hopscotching, walking, sleeping, eating, okay? And then adjectives describe nouns. Adjectives describe nouns. So sad, 3, long. Part 2 of the portfolio is where I go to plan my designated ELD time. It is where students really learn how English works, and it's those critical skills that students need in order to be proficient in the English language. And it is that time that I plan for my students is where they get lots of practice in a small group in a safe environment with their other EL peers. When I was working with the group, I was writing notes on a sticky note, depending on what each student said. And then later on, I went back and I added that to their ELD progress report under part 2 for the designated time. And I had a couple of students that had already mastered that skill, so I'm gonna go ahead and go sign that off and write a comment in the comment section. I had another student that needs a little more practice with that, so I went ahead and made a note on that as well. Part 3 of the portfolio is the foundational piece, and I use that when I have a student that comes brand new to the United States, has very little to no knowledge of the English language, and so I can go there and see exactly what I can do to kind of help them understand the basic foundational skills of English. The ELD portfolios do show you exactly where they're at in their progress, and it really helps you plan. In that lesson, I thought that everybody was going to do pretty well on that. They were definitely going to be able to say, like, the balloon is, big and blue. And I had one student that I thought that was going to be able to do that couldn't. And so, yeah, that gave me instant feedback for a formative assessment.